Hey, Alex, big news for Access Connect.
That's right. The Calgary Influential Women in Business Awards nominations have opened. So if you know somebody that has incredible leadership skills, advocates for women in the workplace, and is involved in their community,
this is your chance to put their name forward for recognition. It's such an amazing event and a great tribute to those who have been trailblazers along the way.
Visit accessconnects.com, CIWB Awards, and fill out a nomination form today. Hello, and welcome back to The Quiet Part Out Loud. I am Alex.
And Nuvyn.
And we are here today with Sue Tomney, CEO of YW Calgary and 2025 Calgary Influential Women in Business Award winner. Welcome, Sue.
Yay.
Thank you.
And it's so awesome. We're here in your amazing location, this YW hub here in Inglewood in Calgary. And I've never been here before. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of it. So anybody who, comes inside, it's like, you're going to be here for a while for a tour, just so you know. So
It's
just I know you're going to be here for a while.
It is a stunning facility. And it's like hopping with people. And you've got booths going on downstairs, women in entrepreneurship. It's just so amazing to see the vibrancy that's going on here.
And a shameless plug that anyone can book a room, right?
You bet.
Yes.
That's part of our social enterprise.
Right.
Is in a way for us to make money is to rent out our rooms and some of our spaces. And so, yeah, and it is beautiful space. And we love having people here. It really helps to build the buzz for everyone who either resides here or works here.
Yes. It's a beautiful facility.
Thank you.
So delighted to be here with you today and to spend some time with you, ask you a bunch of questions. We always joke by saying, we send a bunch of questions in advance and we never actually ask really any of them, except for maybe the first one, because that one we always kick off with, because it's fun. And so if you've studied the first question, which is, if there were to make a movie about your professional journey, what would it be?
And you know what? I did get a heads up on that.
Excellent.
And I will tell you, I took 5 seconds to answer that in my head. And then I had to unwind. Why did that come to me immediately? And it's the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the first thing I thought of because it's been such a somewhat chaotic career path. It's kind of been this and been that and everywhere. And that's immediately what came to me. And also in behind, it's a movie that really is teaching about kindness. And so if there is a common thread, maybe in my career path, I've been fortunate enough to have pieces that allowed me to embrace that in my work, whether it was my portfolio or just other things I was doing. So yeah, that's the chaotic. A movie that took me 3 times to finish, by the way, because I was so exhausted, which I thought, well, that's perfect.
That
sounds like me. It's
simple.
exhausting.
Yeah, I'm tired of it.
I'm tired. Exactly.
I'm too busy to actually sit down and finish the movie.
Right.
I can't actually remember the last time I watched a movie from start to finish in one sitting.
Probably in a theater for me.
I guess, but then I would have fallen asleep.
Oh dear. Yes.
That's why I can't go to those reclining theaters because they're too comfortable. It's like I'm paying $15 to have a really good nap.
Oh my gosh, Nuvyn, that's what popcorn's for. That's why you go.
Popcorn, treats,
juju.
Yeah.
a little sugar buzz.
Exactly.
Well, you mentioned the chaos of particularly maybe the last few years. I mean, there's been so much on the go at the Y, and you've been at the helm here for how long? For 15 years. Incredible. And so through that time, you would have seen it through many changes and developments. And take us a bit through that.
And some of them were intentional. As I look back to, some of them were things that we wanted to make happen, and others were not. Floods, global pandemics, other things thrown at you, everything, everywhere, all at once.
That's right.
As you try to sort of get the work done that you had started to do, which for the most part was a lot around setting the next kind of direction. I got here on the 100th anniversary of the YW, and that was pretty much, the directive from the board was set the direction for the next 100 years. Not at all daunting.
Right.
And okay. And also we, it had been in a building that wasn't serving us. well anymore. So the other directive was do something about that. And so so it's been a lot, and there's been a lot that has been thrown at us, and a lot of it good though, good timing and all of that. So it's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful ride.
Well, I've had the pleasure of interviewing you now twice, and so I know a little bit about your background. And our team has been talking about career pivots a lot lately. So tell us about a few of the career pivots you've gone through. And specifically, I know you mentioned in our previous conversation a little musical interlude. So
There is a microphone.
There's a microphone.
Yeah. All right. So I'll just bring in the piano player, please, and we'll get started. Well, and it's funny because it's not something I've talked a lot about for a while, but now reflecting on that, it's kind of an interesting observation on how did I get here. But I did, I graduated from high school at Central Memorial, go Rams in Calgary, and went directly from there pretty much to the stage and to the recording studio. For me, going to college was not something that I thought was my next step. I really had been singing for a number of years in bands and wanted to do that and to write with my partner at the time. And so it was just for me something to do. So I went directly to work because you have to pay for that somehow. So worked in the bank during the day and sang in bars and wrote music and in the recording studio on the weekends. And on a good day, I'd wake up and remember if I'd worn spandex the last time I was up or a suit so I didn't show up in the wrong place in the wrong outfit. Not a lie, in the dead of winter. So you can take from that sort of the era too. It was the 80s, so
Love it.
it was really fun.
And you recorded a record.
Yes, record.
Yes, a record.
Records it all the way. Vinyl's back, you and Alex. So be kind, because yeah. So that was, and it was 3 years pretty much in the making, because it literally was weekends and.
I'm going to track it down.
So, okay.
I should have asked you to bring it.
See, okay, yes. Well, that's there. I have a couple of copies, but yeah. No, it was a great experience at the time. It and I think taught me all sorts of things about perseverance and ultimately the sacrifices I think that any artists make, right, to really choose that career path. And for me, ended up. Doing bits of that, but ultimately was a little bit too chicken to try and pay the bills and put food on the table just doing that. So yeah. So
there's that balance between doing what you love and finding your passion and what brings you joy, with also that rational part of your brain that's like, can I? Is this going to put food on my table?
Mm-hmm. There's an element of pragmatism in sort of all the decisions, particularly as women, that you make. And for me, that was really part of it. So, I've still sang at a few weddings and, things like that over the years. But other than that, it's kind of, I've not gone there. But boy, I sure have a lot of respect for people who do. And I love music and continues to be part of my life that way. Yeah. Yeah.
And then after that, you moved into community investment.
Yeah. So picking up, on your comment around the balance of what you love and what you, very fortunate, I think, early on in my career to be able to do things where I was engaging, with the community. Worked in oil and gas and radio for a while as well, which in those days there were ski teams and there was lots of fun things that radio would do because that was a primary advertising mechanism, not as much anymore. And then, making my way to Canadian Airlines and TransAlta. And in both those situations, community investment and was part of my portfolio where I really got bit, and really lucky to work for good Calgary companies that cared a lot about the community.
Yeah.
So fortunate.
And that's evident now in your role as CEO at YW. And now you're embarking upon another pivot.
Yeah. Pivot. That's a wonderful word, pivot.
I know.
Yeah. There's all good things kind of reach their end date, I think. And for me, there were lots of wonderful things that I set out to do here And it just became apparent to me that I'd done the things I wanted to do, and that I'd been in this sector for a longer period of time than I probably thought I would, even longer at YW Calgary than I thought I would. I think the pandemic and other extended sort of my best before date. And it was just, the kind of walk in the snow that we hear a lot about these days when people decide to pivot their careers. It might have been something like that, where it was just kind of, it's time to try something new and a different challenge.
So I think that is on a lot of people's minds right now for a variety of reasons. Talent and the professional industries that we find ourselves in have changed, they've evolved, and I think COVID has certainly been a catalyst for some of that. But I think also there's this point of like inflection that people are wondering, is this what I set out to do? Is this what I want to do? And at what point do you, for you, did you take that like long walk in the snow and kind of like weigh out a pros and cons list? Did you what guided that decision for you
To come into the not-for-profit sector?
to
initially, or-
make this decision to say, you know what, I think I've done everything that I set out to do,
Yeah.
and now I want to try something new?
Yeah. I think it's because, if you're a lifelong learner, which I think, all of us are in some form or another, that's how we get fed, that you reach a point where you realize there's other things that I need to learn and other experiences I want to have. And to do that, it would require stepping outside of this organization, or else I would run the risk of being not a positive disruptor in the organization. So needed to look elsewhere and make space. And so for me, it was really about that at this point in my career, that I feel like I've still got a lot more that I'd like to contribute and a lot more to learn. And so to throw yourself out there into something different and take that deep breath and feel the fear, even though, I know what I'm leaving behind, which is bittersweet, because I love everything here and I love the people.
Well, and you built this. Literally, right? And so there probably is this element, this moment of, am I ready to leave? It's almost like it's your baby, right? And they're graduating and you're giving it space so that you can also embark upon a new journey.
Yeah. So making the decision personally for me, and when there is that uncertainty and I still need to make a living. Didn't win the lottery that I know of. It's Wednesday, so you don't know. We could check this evening. It might be a totally different podcast. But I still need to do that. And so there's the one piece around personally wanting to do something different. And then there's the other second piece, and it is very hard. It's been very hard since I announced this to live with that, to let that go. And I've had the good fortune to reach out to people and board chairs that I've worked with over the years, and people that I respect in the community, to basically say, help. Like, I'm really struggling with leaving this and letting go, because it's been such a huge part of my life. And so if I didn't have people to talk to about that, I don't think I anticipated that. I think in my head it was like, yeah, look, did all I needed to do. Next.
Mic drop.
And but it's not. It's hard. Watching kids leave to go off to university, or it's hard to let go. So yeah, it's been trickier than I would have thought.
I'm curious if in those conversations, if anyone has given you any great nuggets of advice or that you can share.
You know what? Lots of great nuggets of advice, and they're probably, applicable to anybody who's considering doing something different in career changes. And one, when you're in a role and things are going well and you feel like you've done great work. I have one friend and former board chair who said, the measure of your success is not 6 months after you leave, it's right now. So don't worry about the future. It's going to be when you walk through that door. They will go, this is what you did, because you worry. It's like your kids, you worry. What if they go and they do this? So that was super helpful. And I think the other super helpful piece was from my former CEO at TransAlta, who was my boss, was just around, you had choices that you made at the time where you could have could have stuck around and you could have stayed for title and, salary increases and had that career and been able to do it. And you made that choice not to because you were pulled by something else. And, all things being equal, I know you feel like you did the right choice there. So remember that, because that angst and that kind of that you're feeling right now I know it's what you felt then because you talked to me about that. So stay with that, because that means it's the right thing if it's making you a little uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
Into that discomfort.
Yes, 100%. Fear and discomfort and all that. But when you're in it, it can be really icky, but it's coming out the other side,
right?
Remembering what that feels like
when
the decisions made.
I think sometimes people stay in that discomfort almost too long, because you have to, at the end of the day, though, make a decision.
Yeah.
And say, okay, I'm either going to stay here and I'm going to map out the trajectory for the YW for the next 100 years, as was your mandate before, or I'm going to chart a new course for myself. Yeah. But there's that moment of you still have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And so was there a moment where you weighed all of the options and all of the emotions and decided, okay, this is the right thing to do right now?
Yeah. It again, great women friends, and one who said to me, you need to sit down and think about all the things that you like right now that you're doing and the things that you don't like, and be realistic, because there's always things that you don't really love, particularly when you've been around the mulberry bush a few times, right? That it's that one's not filling my boat anymore. It's kind of, and mapping that out. And that was really helpful, because in order to do that, in order to stay here, I'd have to continue to do those things that actually, for me now, I didn't want to do that again. I didn't want to fight that fight again. I didn't want to have to, I could, but, I don't want to. I want to do more of these other things. And so I think that was really it. And getting excited about the stuff that I could do, even though I'm, not sure where that is. It's kind of what's the motivator and what's that challenge that's out there. So yeah, and time, right? Really taking the time to sit and reflect and write things out and consider all of that and what the sacrifices may have to be. And as I've said to people, if I have to sell everything and buy, a little Volkswagen van with my golden retriever and go across the country, so be it.
That sounds great. I need us
in this moment right now. I'm
very great, right? I know.
And you could record another album.
There you go.
There you
right?
go.
Or just go across the country and see if I can't find them in old record stores. Right?
I love it.
I could do that. Tempting at times.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I know we've had a conversation that there's maybe some misconceptions about YW, and what is one or two things that you wish everyone knew about YW and the work that you're doing, and maybe some of the resources that Calgarians can tap into?
You're so sweet. It's a perfect setup for me. I appreciate that. Well, there's a couple of answers around misconceptions specifically about YW and the work that we do. And then I think there's others that are broader around the not-for-profit sector in general, and maybe more specific around social service agencies. So I would say, for YW, one of the biggest ones is we're not the female version of the YM. And so it is a social service agency, so very different. And the things that we do are different. Now, if Shannon Durham from YMCA was sitting here, she'd say there's lots of things that people have no idea that YMCA does. So I think that because when you have a strong brand and people automatically glom onto what they think that brand is, letting go of that is an ongoing challenge. And so for us here, the biggest piece is that, our programming and what we offer are a broad array. It's not just, for women who, are having a particularly terrible time in their life. Sometimes it's they want to make a career change. And so the career fair that we were talking about that's happening downstairs right now or want to venture out. So for us, it really is about the empowerment of women, ultimately to help them have choice. So even if you think about the areas of domestic violence and some of the tougher issues that we address, so often those issues are a result of not having choice and not having, those resources. So it leads back to that. So I think that's probably one of the biggest ones is it is an organization that is very much here to serve a broad array of women and their families. And some, who are listening right now who never would think that they would need any of these resources and something shifts in their life. And we like to, let people know that that's what we're here for. And we've got a great team to do that. And I guess from a not-for-profit sector, I think the misconception is that, it's a charity and it's more hand to mouth. And it's just about bringing in the money and service. And in fact, they're very complex organizations. So I think that's a misconception that it actually is. It takes a really great team to pay attention to that because it's diverse revenue streams. The old mantra of, we can't charge more for the pizza in what we're doing. So how you have to be creative and how you manage your resources and how you get more resources is really tricky. It's really complex, which is also why I've been here 15 years because I thrive on complexity.
In your acceptance speech for the Calgary Influential Women in Business Awards, you alluded to bringing like the best practices of the business industry, the for-profit industry, to the nonprofit world. Can you talk us about that a little? Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, I thank you for putting it that way, Nuvyn, because I think sometimes there's a misconception that it's just about run it like a business. So when you talk about what are the principles or what can you bring in, that's a really clear distinction. So I'm grateful you put it that way. Same thing that you could say for our sector, that you could inject some of the things from our sector into the private sector that would probably benefit how they work. Well, part of it is sustainability around. So a business practice, businesses wouldn't keep running certain parts of their business if it wasn't sustainable, if it was a drag on how they're able to run. They'd find a way to let it loose and do something different. So that's a really important principle, I think, for us. If we can't do it the way we should, if it's not sustainable, if we don't have the money and it's taking all of the energy to keep something going that's just not a fit, you need to know when to let go. And so that's same way a business would do that, right? So that's one example. And the other is, a place where employees have opportunities to grow and to thrive and making sure that there's opportunities there. Even if there's 300 employees here, not as many places where you can move to, but trying to be creative that the team sees that they're continuing to grow here and taking on new challenges and have opportunities inside of the YW, not just the day-to-day. That's another best practice, I think, from the corporate sector on how they keep their teams engaged and a longer tenure.
Yeah. Cultivating and fostering those professional development opportunities that I think probably enable your team to ultimately be better prepared to meet the demands of the people in which you serve, right? Which is probably constantly evolving and changing and dealing with new struggles and challenges at every turn.
Yeah, well, that's Calgary.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about how the city has evolved and changed just in the last 5 to 10 years. It's actually quite remarkable, right? And so too are the people who are accessing our services. So being able to make sure that you're paying attention to not only who you're serving, but who your workforce is, the changing dynamics of who's drawn to your work as well. So yeah, it's really about paying attention to that and being or willing to change what you're doing in order to deepen that impact.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting the reflection that you just provided about that's Calgary. This is the evolving, changing nature of our community is really astute in that when I moved to Calgary 10 years ago, and I was awestruck at the level of generosity that is provided to our community from particularly those of like financial means. They truly see it as their responsibility to give back to a community that has provided so much for them. And I think that's a really unique attribute about our city.
Yeah, this is an incredibly generous city, and you don't have to tell you do this, and including your time and your commitment to helping others. I think there is that really, you can see that in all that Access stands for. You have people who want to help other women grow and achieve, their goals. So I think it's both of that. And I'm not sure, other than that sort of Western spirit, what to attribute that to. It's kind of just the way we do things here. But people who come here, they remind us. Right? It's kind of like, I'm used to it. But then you have somebody who comes here and goes, wow.
And absolutely.
Different feeling here.
I think some of it is like the humble ranching agricultural roots of our community, and that kind of that sense of giving back and not going too far from what actually grounds us.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it's something that that has not changed over the years. I think who's involved in that has changed, because it's been fun watching emerging, success in the city and newcomers here. But it feels like people who do come here get bit pretty quick by what the expectations are and how you engage, and that's what's going to make you happy in this community.
And that's what it means to be a Calgarian.
Yeah, 100%.
We should get that on a T-shirt.
We should.
Hey?
Yeah.
That's my loud part out loud, too. Like that Calgary pride.
Yeah. Western spirit.
Yeah.
That would be stealing from the Stampede, but
that's true. But we do a collab with them.
Yeah, we'll share it. They don't, the trademark's not on the white hat. So it's however you want to use the Stetson. I'm sure you guys would be terribly creative on that. Look what you've done so far. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
I want to take it back to the comment you made around the economic participation and prosperity of women, and more systemic question around, what do you wish or think more women and men knew about giving women more choice in their lives? Like, what are those maybe small incremental changes that we can make to open options up for more women?
Part of it has been, and why I've been so excited about the childcare deal specifically that was struck with the federal government, and I know it continues to be a bit tenuous, but that was a big deal, because that made quality childcare truly affordable. And so choice in that regard for moms, because primarily it does tend to be the mom who would stay home if decisions had to be made because childcare is too expensive. And so, being involved in that, and what that choice meant is that women who want to work like me can. I would have been an awful stay-at-home mom. It's just not how I'm really wired. I love my kids and we have great times and all that, but I needed that piece. And so to be able to do that makes me happy, keeps the family happy. So choice to be able to work, I think, is a big one. I think flexibility and understanding. Sometimes that, as much as we'd like to think that everybody can work these specific hours and have this amount of output, needs to be rethought. And what is the measure of work these days, and what's the measure of success in that work, and being caught too much in what old expectations are is going to be incredibly limiting, and you're going to exclude a lot of women in that, which is not the way we want to go in society. So I think, but I think that's really hard, because men and women are wired differently. And not that there's not great dads who do lots to participate, but there is a lot of it. There's a different pull sometimes on things and different measures on that. And women end up doing, the majority of the domestic work. It's just the way, probably because we put our hands up too much. Maybe we should just hand it over and go, no, you go do that.
Keep your hand down.
We need to be fans of like good enough, right?
Yeah.
It's good enough.
right? You've talked. I've heard your podcast before talking about the good enough piece, and
Good enough is the metric of success.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I applaud loudly, and we're so hard, hard on ourselves. I watched my daughter go through university, who, it had to be like the top marks, and I'd say to her, babe.
Yeah.
Like, a B's going to be okay. And guess what? Your employer is not going to look at your I'm sorry ever again. Try getting that through her head when you have this, when you've had to fight so much in the first place. And that's a young woman who grew up in a house with a pretty fierce feminist mom. So there is something deeply ingrained in that still in society to have to excel. So getting to a place of good enough, whether it's the house is good enough in terms of its cleanliness, or the day that I've put in is a real, that's a real one that needs everybody to lean in on, not just women.
Yeah. I think sometimes we bring it upon ourselves just through the scrolling on, whether it's like on social media, and it's like, oh, this person worked out today. Oh, look at that meal they made for their kids. That looks really healthy. Oh, and now they're doing this, and someone's, and it's like, oh my God, it makes you feel like a failure. 5 minutes of scrolling and you're like, gosh, I've done nothing. Nothing with my life.
And we all just need that reminder. I had this conversation with my mom the other day, which is so interesting that this is coming up. But she said to me, like, your kids will not remember what color the carpet is, or your kids will not remember that you put away their clothes right away. And I was like, oh, that's so true. Like, I don't remember. She said, I don't remember making you lunch. And I was like, you made me lunch every day.
Oh, you remember?
Yeah.
I'm banking on the fact that my kids will remember your
I don't remember what was in the lunch. So the point is,
you remember that you did not go hungry, but you don't remember
exactly what you had for lunch.
Yeah.
What a great question to ask my adult children. What is it you remember? Yeah. Like, what do you remember on those pieces? Hopefully it's not that how good they were at sneaking out the window late at night to go to parties, things you find out years later, and you're like, why is that screen off that window? And you look and you discover it's because monsters were sneaking out. So hopefully it's more than mom was such a deep sleeper, we could do whatever we wanted out to midnight. Hopefully it is more, I remember the good. That's a really good question on what they remember and what they don't, because we're hard on ourselves, and it's probably not all the things we think on where we failed.
Well, speaking of remembering things, when you reflect on and remember your time now at YW, what will rise to the top?
I think the biggest piece will be the great people, and the fact that we were able to really do a shift in terms of how we do work, and the pride that we bring with that, and how important dignity is, not only to the families and the women that we serve, but to the employees who do this work. Because I think that sometimes gets forgotten for folks who are not maybe, a senior executive or doing whatever, that everyone contributes in such a meaningful way. You can go on about teachers and people. And so for me, I would like to think that employees are super proud of the work that they do here, and for me, it'll be the fun that we had, despite the crazy ups and downs, pandemics and floods and whatever, that I look back and go, that was a hoot on many ways. It was heavy lifting, but it was still a hoot.
But you made it through with resilience and together as a team.
Yeah. A lot of great people have come through these doors over the 15 years, and they've gone on to lead other organizations. That's a very fulfilling piece too, to see people move on and thrive in other areas and other organizations. So, yeah.
Well, your tenure here has been marked by incredible impact along the way, and obviously not only on the organization itself, but also on the lives that you have changed throughout your journey. And we look forward to seeing the upcoming changes with your own professional journey. And I'm sure that there will be many opportunities for our paths to cross again.
I hope so. And so congratulations on all the great work that you're doing. I just enjoy listening to you guys. And I think more opportunities to engage in this.
It's been a lot of fun.
Great things.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today on The Quiet Part Out Loud.
Excellent. Thank you.
The Quiet Part Out Loud is produced by Access Connects and brought to you by Oh, wait, is there a sponsorship opportunity there? Learn more at accessconnects.com.